To quote Leon Standard, who voiced Cup in Transformers the movie 1986, and I quote, "Experience, you should learn to appreciate it." Now, the reason I bring that up is because of the fact that recently myself and many others have given their opinions on a lot of things. But a lot of us, probably a majority of us, give opinions based on experience. In other words, basically, and I'm doing this on the fly, unscripted, but basically giving our opinions based on what we've seen in the past. For you see, a week from this Thursday, I will turn the big 4-0. So for about 35 plus years, I've seen and read a lot of media, mostly animation, live action, a lot of live action, but mostly animation, comics, you name it. I've seen a lot. And when I give my opinions, I give it because it's based on what I've seen before. Heck, when I was a subscriber to the Archie comic book, or the Archie's Sonic the Hedgehog comic book when it was under the Archie license, and Ian Flynn took over, I pretty much called a lot of what was going to happen. In fact, some people at several message boards even acknowledged that I called exactly what was going to happening in the book. Why? Because I had seen it before in other forms of media, but also it was very predictable. You could see it coming from a mile away. And when I was predicting and giving my opinion through those predictions of what I saw coming, it was because it was based on experience and what I had seen previously from other forms of media. Now, when it comes to certain things that I've talked about recently, like Rarity and Spike's relationship in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and the whole jENNIKA, the fifth Turtle deal in IDW, the opinions I've given have been based on experience. Let's start with Rarity and Spike. I've talked about this a lot, so I don't want to stay too much on it. But I give my opinions on Rarity and Spike possibly, if not almost certainly, in some shape or form getting together before the show's over, or even at the show's end, because it's based on what I've seen in the past. You see, it's ironic that My Little Pony is a Hasbro property, and Friendship is Magic is part of that property. Because when I grew up in the 80s, I used to, of course, watch the boy cartoons. And the big boy cartoon that I would watch the most from Hasbro was Transformers. So, not only did I watch Transformers Generation 1, but I watched every episode, of course. And there were several episodes, believe it or not, that teased, if not officially acknowledged or made official even for that episode, a romance between an Autobot and a human female. Or, towards the end, an Autobot female and a human male or teenage boy. I'm not lying about that. You see, those episodes were, in second season, Atlantis Arise, I think that was one of them, and The Girl Who Loved Power Glide. Yeah. Those were the episodes. Those were the episodes. I mean, Atlantis Arise, I think that's what that was the other episode, focused on the character of Sea Spray kind of being attracted and falling for this Atlantean woman. I think her name was Ariel, believe it or not. And it was through a transformation pool that they had that he was able for a time to turn into a Atlantean man himself, and then into a merman, I should say, along with her turning into a mermaid. And to show that they were developing a romantic relationship between the two, when Sea Spray returned back to normal to go fight the Decepticons and the new allies, that were trying to threaten the world by raising Atlantis, what did Ariel do? Ariel used the pool of transformation to turn herself into a female Autobot who transforms into a gondola that shoots lasers. So, yeah, Hasbro went and did that. That's not the only thing either. Hasbro, again, did it with the girl who loved Power Glide. You got to check these episodes out to know what I'm talking about. But on top of that, Hasbro, like I mentioned, also did this in the third and fourth / final season of G1. Mostly in the fourth / final season of Transformers G1, they basically in the final 3 episodes acknowledged that there was something more between Daniel, who was Spike's son, and RC, who was a female Autobot. They even teased Daniel saying the three words that every woman wants to hear from a man, but he doesn't fully say it. And RC's response is she feels the same way too. So, to me, when I give my opinion about Spike and Rarity from experience, it's because I've seen a lot of kind of strange romances develop under Hasbro's umbrella. So they're no strangers to it. Whether it makes sense or it doesn't, whether it's written and developed correctly and properly, it's still something that happens. And I think I believe from my own experienced opinion, that's why Lauren Faust, and then later on Megan McCarthy for a bit, and now Nicole Dubuque and many others behind the scenes have decided to keep the relationship going. Due to the fact that basically they know Hasbro is no stranger to these kind of relationships happening. It's the same with other shows too. It's the same with other shows. I mean, some might look at the Cadillac Cats from Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats and say that it's kind of awkward that a statuesque-like cat named Cleo, female that is, would be in love with a short, tough alley cat named Riff Raff. It's, to them it'd feel kind of weird that, like I say, a statuesque cat like Cleo, a female cat, would be in love with a short alley cat named Riff Raff. But yet it happened. They made it occur. I mean, even Disney's no stranger to things like this either. When it came to one of the live action movies, they teased this. I'm not lying. If you watch the movie Blank Check, they pretty much borderline tease this. They do. Between the main protagonist and the female protagonist. They tease it. And the main featured character of the movie is a teenage young boy. And the love interest is a full-grown woman, maybe in her late teens, early 20s. That's about it. Even Disney, like I said, is not exempt from this when it comes to strange kind of teases of romances and all that in their media. I mean, heck, the ever-popular Gargoyles, if you will, did something like this. They did it in a 3-parter that they did around, I think it was season 2. Yeah, it was season 2. Where Goliath and Elisa and Bronx met up with this character named Tom, who was actually a young boy from 1,000 years ago, from Goliath's time. So anyway, get to the point here. They travel to a place called Avalon, and we find out that Tom, who is a young boy, has fallen in love and I guess got married to the princess who was older than him back in Goliath's time. Go figure, right? Anyway, like I said, no media whatsoever, no company whatsoever is strangers to this kind of pushing of romance that you wouldn't see coming or what you wouldn't believe should happen, because it's out there no matter how you look at it. And again, that's why I say that, from experience, I give my opinion as to why spiking rarity is something that, again, if they wanted to, they could have ended it a long time ago, but they haven't. Because I'm sure they're in agreement with me that they've seen this kind of stuff play out in the past. So, heck, as recent as the 2012 to 2016 Nickelodeon TMNT pretty much did a relationship with April O'Neil, who was a teenager in this version, and Donatello. So go figure. But again, it's just people like me giving our thoughts and our opinions based on experience and what we had seen over the past several 30, 20, maybe 40 years we've been around. Now, to make this next part of this video a little shorter than the other one, jENNIKA. jENNIKA is the 5th Ninja Turtle from IDW Comics. And basically her mutation is due to a blood transfusion she got courtesy of Leonardo to save her life. Now, I've given my opinions already. I've pretty much stated that I don't think she's going to be a permanent part of the team. I think it's just something they're doing right now for the City at War story arc and any upcoming future story arcs they may have. So I don't think she's going to be a permanent fixture. Whether or not she remains a turtle remains to be seen, but my opinion is I think she's going to have the mutation reversed and she's going to go back to being a human. Even despite people saying that as far as the IDW TMNT goes, that's never really possible, but I think it's all dependent on who's running things or who's writing the story. But my opinion on this is based on experience, because I had seen this before with TMNT. They teased it when they had something like this similar, somewhat, if you will, when TMNT was under the Archie Comics license as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Adventures, and from issue 29, or mostly the final pages of issue 29, all the way up to issue 71, and including 1 or 2 48-page specials, or 48-page issue specials, a character named Ninjara, who was an anthropomorphic fox from an island outside of Japan, not a mutant, but an anthropomorphic fox, basically had fallen in love with Raphael and vice versa. And this relationship lasted into at least the late 60 issues into the early 70s, when there started to be a bit of a divide between the two. In other words, both started to kind of not break apart entirely, but basically started to see that maybe they weren't as compatible as they used to be. So long story short, after issue 71, she was written out of the Ninja Turtles book. Behind the scenes reason is because David Allen and Stephen Murphy, I think, didn't want to pay any more royalties or anything like that to have her utilized in future issues, because she was supposed to come back for their interpretation of City at War. But yeah, she lasted for about, I would say, 41 and a half issues. If you don't count the 48-page specials, you would say around 43. Now, that's one. The other one is probably one of the more noticeable ones, Venus de Milo, from Ninja Turtles Next Mutation, when Saban had the license to produce a live-action show. Venus didn't last too long. Yes, the show originally was planned or pinned for maybe 2 seasons, but the show didn't last but 1. And Venus de Milo afterwards was never seen again. Yeah, she had somewhat of a fan base, because fans thought that, in a way, there were certain episodes where she was written as probably the most competent of the team, if not the more sensible and sometimes fun-loving of the team. But long story short, long story short, she basically was not a very, at the time, very popular addition, not just to the fans, but to one Kevin Eastman, who said you would never see Venus de Milo ever again. I think it was Kevin Eastman. And then, on top of that, we've had other attempts at a fifth member. About maybe 2 times already in the 80s to 90s animated series, we had a tease of a fifth member. In the 4th season, we had the tease of a member in a female lizard, salamander I guess, named Mona Lisa. That didn't last but 1 episode. Later on, when we got into what's known as the Action Zone era, they teased a 5th member in a character named Carlos, who accidentally got mutated and only lasted for about a season and a half, and then he was written out by going back into the future to get a cure for his mutation. Now, if that's not all, how about this? In the IDW comics, they've teased it briefly by having a character named Aeroplex join the team and then go her separate way. They teased it by having April in the Archie Comics rendition of Ninja Turtles become a turtle temporarily. That didn't last. They even teased it with her becoming a Catwoman and a Fish Woman and all that. That didn't last. Even though she stayed an ally and everything, her mutation was not long lasting to where she would become a member of the team. Point is, I had seen this done many times, and I'm not the only one that has seen this done many times, which is why, in my opinion, based on experience from what I've seen, I don't think this whole jENNIKA thing is going to last very long. It's just, to me, it's just something they're doing for the upcoming City at War story arc and maybe any other future story arcs, but I can almost feel and guarantee by the time they get to that milestone 100, if not 150, or around that issue frame, if they get there, that's when they're going to come up with an idea. Whoever's writing the story or whoever one of the head writers are at the time, they're going to come up with a solution to get jENNIKA restored back to human. I feel that's coming. I feel that's coming because a 5th turtle member on the team never lasts long. And again, I say that from experience. Overall, I'm not against other people's opinions, but it's like the saying, it's like Leon Standard said as Cup. It's experience, you should learn to appreciate it. And that's all we ask from people, is the opinions we give, and maybe we should make note of it when we do these opinions, is our opinions are based on experience. My opinion is based on almost 35 years of experience. So that's all I ask, and that's why I give the opinions I do, because I've seen this kind of stuff play out in the past in other forms of media. So I'm no stranger to it. I'm no stranger whatsoever. So honestly, guys, that's all I really wanted to say. I know the video went for about 20 minutes. I do apologize. But let me know what you all think. What are your thoughts on what I had to say here? Hopefully you took in your time in listening to this. And I will talk to y'all later. God bless. Take care. But again, these are just my opinions that I've been giving in a lot of these videos based on experience.